system present at the property. You can identify a radiant heat system based on if the property has a hot water boiler, expansion tank, radiators, or copper tubing in the floor, walls, or ceilings. A radiant system may also be referred to as a wet system or hot water baseboard heat. To identify a steam system, you will look for a steam boiler and radiators. Once you identify the property to have a radiant or steam heat system, you will check to see if the property has gas utilities. If so, be sure to turn off the gas to the boiler if present. If the property is a multi-family unit, you must first determine if the boiler system is shared. If shared, do not shut down the heat. Also, if the property is located in Alaska, the boiler should remain on. Next, you will check that the water is turned off at the curb. If it is not, you must still complete the winterization. For pre-sale properties, provide a bid to shut the water off at the curb. You may also need to meet the city for curbside shutoff. First, you will zip tie the main water shutoff valve in the off position. In most cases, the shutoff valve will be located in the house, either in the basement, a crawl space, or somewhere on the first floor. If there is no main shutoff valve inside the house, you will need to shut the water off at the meter pit. Most shutoff valves in the meter pit will have a hole that lines up once in the off position. This is where the zip tie should go. If this hole is not present, you will need to run 2 zip ties diagonally across the shutoff valve, ensuring it cannot be moved back into the on position. Additionally, if the water meter is disconnected, make sure you plug or cap the main water line feed coming into the house. If the property has fire suppression, you must be careful to only turn off the water supplying the domestic system and not the water supplying the fire suppression. You will locate the main shutoff valve and leave this in the on position, as this often feeds both the domestic system and the fire suppression. Next, follow the pipeline and you will notice that it branches off into 2 pipes with 2 independent shutoff valves. The valve with the pressure gauge near it will also stay in the on position, as this is the one that feeds the fire suppression. The other shutoff valve should be put into the off position and zip tied, as this is the one that feeds the domestic system of the property. Additionally, for pre-sale properties, the circuit breakers must be shut off when completing a winterization. This includes the main breaker, unless the heat is to remain on for any attached dwellings or if the property has fire suppression. If the property has a fire suppression, you must leave the breaker on for the heating system and set the thermostat to 55 degrees. Also, if there is a sub pump present at the property, you will need to identify which breaker supplies electricity to the sub pump and leave this one in the on position. For post-sale properties, which the power is turned on, circuit breakers must remain on. However, if a well pump and/or water heater are present, these breakers must be in the off position. After the appropriate water valves and breakers are shut off, you will start a gravity drain by opening all faucets and valves and by draining the boiler, expansion tank, and all radiators with a hose into a floor drain or outside away from the foundation. Once the gravity drain is complete, close all faucets and valves. In this step, it is important that all faucets and valves are opened, drained, and then closed. All lines must be blown free of water, using a minimum of 3.8 cubic feet per minute air compressor. To blow the lines, hook up the compressor to an outside hose spigot or a laundry hookup. The compressor needs to be fully charged and all faucets and/or valves should be in the closed position. Once charged, open the faucet or valve furthest and/or highest from the compressor hookup. Each faucet or valve should be opened one at a time and then closed prior to moving on to the next one to ensure full pressure at each fixture. You can open either the hot or cold side first and then close it before opening the other side. Continue doing this to all fixtures. Remember to also blow out the water line and ice maker connected to the refrigerator. Additionally, open the shower diverter in the tub area to ensure all water is cleared. If the property has a water softener, be sure to drain the tank. You will also need to blow the lines to the boiler if present. First, switch the reduced pressure zone, as known as PRZ valve, from automatic to a manual open position. Open the drain valve on the boiler and hook up the compressor to this valve. Each baseboard radiator should also be opened to ensure all water has been removed. For best practices, use a small hose or tube to blow the lines into a bucket. When blowing out the lines, remove the bleed elbow and pin from the pipe to ensure an airtight fit. Once all water has been blown from all lines, a pressure test is required to ensure the system holds the pressure and has no leaks. The pressure test should be done at 35 psi for 30 minutes. The results of the pressure test, pass or fail, needs to be documented on the update. Keep in mind, the use of air tanks is not permitted to blow the water lines. Next, you will need to detach the water meter, but first check the water meter removal disconnection list to ensure meters are allowed to be disconnected in the specified city. If there is a city that prohibits the disconnection of water meters that does not appear to be on the list, please provide documentation of this guideline to your VPA or regional coordinator and leave the water meter connected. Water meters should never be removed from a property unless required by the city. If winterizing a condo unit that has a shared meter, the water meter should not be removed. Instead, shut off the water unless the adjacent property would be affected. If this is the case, perform a fixture winterization by turning off the water using fixture valves and leave the heat on, setting the thermostat to 55 degrees. If the property has a well pump, disconnect the power supply by unplugging, switching off and/or separating the wires at the junction box. All wires should be capped for safety.
Separate the wires and replace the wire cap on the exposed wire. You'll need an additional wire cap to place on the other exposed wire, and then do the same for the white wire. Separate them, place the cap on, cover the other wire. Once all exposed wires are capped, you want to place them back into the junction box. Place the cover back on, tighten both screws with a screwdriver, and then place a winterization sticker on the cover.
Then close the main water feed line valve. For pumps with threaded connections, separate the pump from the supply and install a cap or plug. Soldered connections should not be altered. Next, drain the storage tank and pump by removing drain plugs and opening valves. Use compressed air to ensure all water has been removed. Place a winterization sticker on the pump so persons entering the property know the unit has been shut down. The next step in a winterization is to add antifreeze to all toilets and drains. Toilets must first be cleaned. For presale properties, toilets need to be clear of feces and urine. Once cleaned, you will need to remove the water in the tank and bowl. For best practices, use a hand siphon or wet vac. After all water is removed, pour non-toxic antifreeze into all toilet bowls above the siphon line and also into the toilet tanks above the rubber flapper. Next, winterization wraps are placed on each winterized toilet. Additionally, antifreeze needs to be poured down all drains, including but not limited to sinks, bathtubs, showers, and dishwashers. Winterization stickers are to be placed on all winterized fixtures and valves. The final step when completing a winterization order is to take meter readings for water, gas, and electric. It is mandatory that these readings be reported when submitting the order completion. This is important information should the winterization ever become compromised. I hope you found this course to be helpful. To learn more about winterizing a property, view our additional winterization-related courses.